Hi, welcome back. My name's Newman, and today we're going to have a look at some cacti up close and personal, so stay tuned. Alright, first up, this is my Gymnocalycium saglionis. You can see here it's got buds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one I bought as a plant about half this size about 3 years ago, and it's filling out this pot. It's growing in a lot of mainly red larva, Acadama, with a bit of perlite and sand and quartz, crushed quartz. This is a very hardy gymno, and it's beautiful. This is actually one of my favorite cacti, or one of my favorites, possibly my first favorite. Next up is Mammillaria elongata. That have been growing for, I don't know, could be 10 to 13 years. You can see here that it's offsetting profusely, and it's starting to get flower buds right here and here. You can see them popping up. This is growing in a bonsai pot. So it's got two big holes in the bottom for growing bonsais, but ideal for a sprawling cactus like this. Now, if this is difficult to grow, I don't let it dry out too much, and I tend to give it very light waterings. So even in the winter time I will water it, but it won't be a deep watering, and it's growing in quite a shallow pot, so that gives you an idea. And the growing medium is more Acadama and river sand and crushed quartz, so it's very low in organic. Organic being anything that's like soil, topsoil, or compost, potting mixes. It doesn't have any of that in it. So it's a very mineral rich growing medium, and it gets light waterings, so it never stays bone dry for too long. During the summer here it gets very humid, so you can have a humidity of about 80 to 90%, so that's very, very high. And the weather is extremely hot, so you're looking at temperatures that can get up to close to 40 degrees, which is about 105 or 110 Fahrenheit. Also, the typical monsoon that we have, we can get really cool, so it can go right down to the 20s, which is about 75 to 80 Fahrenheit. So these things do put up with a lot of humidity, but I keep it under the eaves of the house, out of the rain. They grow really well for me, so yeah. Growing conditions are pretty up and down here throughout the year, and it puts up with temperatures that can go right down to -8 in my area, which is about 17 or 20 Fahrenheit. So there you are, elongata. It's a very good plant for a beginner, and it's safe to handle. It's very hard to know when it needs watering or not, because it's always springy and and flexible, but generally light waterings quite often, but don't let it stay wet. Yeah. Okay, this one here is Mammillaria elongata Copper King. So this thing has been divided about 3 times over the years. One of them was an accident. It got hooked up on some washing and knocked out of its old pot, and then they made a division, so I've ended up with 2 plants. It's on a little bit of a lean here because it's growing on the table facing, and it's trying to stretch out towards the sun, and the intensity of the sun here is just full direct sun, so it's getting 100% full direct sun with a very thin nylon shade cloth. What the shade cloth does is just help it to keep cooler and scatter some of that sunlight, but this thing has turned into quite a magnificent specimen, as you can see here, and it's growing underneath the eaves with the other elongata, and when it does rain it gets a gentle mist that can actually settle on the cactus, so it gets quite a bit of moisture through its stems, and very high humidity during the summer. Do I get rot on it? No, I only get the only rot that I get is from a very old stem that has just started to naturally die back, and at that time I wait until the driest part of the season, so I wouldn't play around with it. I just let it rot naturally. At some point or another it had a very old stem somewhere in the middle that rotted. I didn't play with it or touch it, I just left it alone, and it just dried and rotted naturally. And I waited until the dry season, which is our winter and springtime, and I just took out the dried up rotted piece, which had already dried up pretty well. Just cleaned it up with tweezers, and that's about it. So here you can see it's got plenty of flower buds on it. So how's that for a magnificent specimen? I love this plant because it's beautiful golden spines, so it's a favorite of mine. It's been repotted quite a few times because I've kind of changed my mind where I want to grow it, but finally its suitable number 1 best place is terracotta, bonsai pot. And this material is a fire glazed, this pottery is the same as the pottery that they use on roofs in Japan. So it's put under extreme temperatures to finish off this kind of clay pot. So there you have it. Next up, one of my favorite miniatures is this Mammillaria Perez del Rosa. So it has these lovely spreading central spines that are white. The radial spines are white and they're spreading, and it has one central spine that's very dark in color coming up with a hook. So it's a beautiful little cactus. You can grow quite tall, a little taller maybe, and stays in a clump. And this is growing in just pure very fine grade akadama. So this one it gets waterings here and there, and it gets a lot of mist from rainfall, but it's just very slight. You get just slight mist from the rains it settle on the cactus. So most of the time it's dry, and when I do water it, it gets a good watering and dries out pretty well in between. And once again, watering can vary from any time in winter, spring, except for the monsoon season. I wouldn't water it then because of the high humidity. So there you have it. One of my favorite miniatures. This is a very old Mammillaria elongata, which has beautiful pink flowers there. And talking about the rot that I was talking about earlier, this one has it here. See how it's gone black? That's the older stems dying off. So they've been left on there for the past, I don't know, year or so, and it started to offset from the older spines, and it's just a matter of when this thing is completely crisped up, it will just naturally break off and it'll be quite dry inside there. Also, it's starting to do it with this piece, and then deep inside the plant it's starting to offset again. So I find that this just happens as a natural process of its life. And then over here I have it here, there, here too. And then we can see that the new offsets are beginning. So this piece might have a little bit that once I actually break this off, it'll probably have roots that are developing inside this old piece. So that'll be something that'll probably get on with, because the weather is still spring here, although it's been pretty hot. Our spring started last month, so we've had almost 4 weeks of temperatures up to 25 to 27, and so this plant just needs a little maintenance, really. Yeah. Anyway, that's one of my oldest mammies there. This is a rather large Mammillaria. Can actually get larger than this once it sucks up more water. But it's in flower now. It has a rather large flower, and I think it's Grusoni because of the size of it. I mean, at the moment it's put on a little bit of size, but once it gets more water, it'll probably fill out this whole pot. It's growing in this terracotta here. It's flaking away on me. Yeah. It's beautiful flowers during the springtime. And you can see here that the growing medium is Akadama again, and it's got another kind of porous, it's kind of a pumice, a volcanic pumice rock. It's called Kanuma, but you can do this with it. It's very crumbly, and the cacti just love to grow in it, and it has a top dressing of crushed quartz right there. Okay, this next one is a Ferocactus. I think it's Chrysochanthus. Yeah, I get mixed up with two names, so I could be right or wrong this time. And this is called a mini barrel. So it gets to a maximum of 30 centimeters high, and it's starting to get a new group of spines there. It's starting to grow. It's gone through the test of the cold, through the heat, through the dry, through the humidity, and it's doing really, really well for me. This was a wish list plant that I picked up with a specialist grower that's quite close to me where I'm living in Japan. There are quite a few there. I was tempted to get quite a lot of them, but I don't have the space. So this is one of my favorite Ferocactus because of its dark green body in contrast with these golden yellow spines. So it's a beautiful thing. Sometimes I like to just put decorative stones in here, so this is from a cheap pile of stones that were going for a discount. Can't remember the name of this particular rock, but I do put rocks in my cacti on and off to make them look neat and natural. As far as the watering goes, well, it's pretty dry now, and it has had a couple of good waterings and a few spritzes, like 2 or 3 spritz waters during the winter, and it's had a couple of big waterings during the spring season, but it's dried right out again. So the humidity goes in the springtime. During the first couple of months, the humidity will go right down to 30 and go right up to 80s. So down to the 30s during the day, and during the night right up to the 80s. I think this might be my second time showing this. It's a Thelocactus bicolor. I've grown this from a little tiny seedling that I bought years ago. It's a flowering size, of course. It still has a lot of growing to do. Most of the time this thing is dry, quite dry. And that's how I grow them. I love its spiraling effect that it has when it grows. It starts to spiral, and it has beautiful purple flowers with frilly edges. This is Ferocactus amorii. And this thing gets to be a huge plant. I don't know where I'm going to put it because I don't have enough space, but it has these little yellow parts on it, and this wasn't from the winter, this is from the monsoon. The monsoon had an effect on its epidermis, which is healed over, so it's no problem. You can see that it's starting to grow here because it's getting this new rib here with the spines coming out. This is one of the cold hardiest Ferocacti, so even when we get right down to freezing temperatures, this thing doesn't lose any body mass. It doesn't shrink one little bit, so it's quite happy with freezing temperatures, because the normal thing to do with a lot of other cacti is that they'll shrivel to get all the excess water out of their body to protect themselves from a hard freeze. But this is very, very cold hardy. As far as rotting or anything goes, it doesn't. And it puts up with high humidity during the monsoon. It doesn't rot at all, as long as you just keep the water off it. And the only fertilizer it gets really is the mineral that I put in, sodium bicarbonate. I don't have that, but I have another kind of mineral that I put in my water that helps to make it acidic. Okay, next up, Mammillaria texensis. This is the Texas horse crippler. Horse crippler because it grows almost submerged in the ground, and all you see is just the top and these super tough central spines sticking out. Makes it quite dangerous, but it is endangered, and it should be protected more in its natural environment because it's beautiful. It has the most, I think, one of the most stunning cacti flowers out there. They're absolutely beautiful, and this one is very cold hardy, so those -8 temperatures, even we get up to 3 snowy days, are no problem for it. Doesn't mind one bit. It also puts up with the humidity, so we get very, very humid summers here. As long as it's under the eaves, it gets through it. It's in a very mineral, well draining substrate, same as the other cacti I'm growing. It's a pretty neat cactus to have. Solitary. It's very rare that it offsets. It has a nice clean body on it, this one. Remembering that I do make my water acidic because they're growing in a very mineral rich soil, and for the cacti to be able to extract minerals that they feed off, acidic water is necessary. Sweet. And yeah, there we have it. This one can get up to about 30 centimeters in diameter, so it's a pretty large cactus. This will be the last one I'm going to show you for today. Gymnocalycium spiniflorum variety of Violacea, and it has buds coming on it. You can see them coming up, and the buds open one after the other, so they can flower all together or one at a time, which is what mine does. It's very hard to catch it with the flowers open because they open up fully during the day, I think. Yeah, during the day, not the night. And to catch them is quite difficult. You can see here that it's got some white on there. There was just some burning because it got moved to a new area, and it was late autumn and the sun is still strong as anything, and it burnt it a little bit, but it's recovering fine. It's getting new growth there. I love this cacti because of its amazing spination all the way around it. It's magnificent. This plant can get quite tall, so at the moment it's a globular cactus. It can end up a little taller, and it can offset. It's growing in a very porous mix that I can see. It is pumice and carnuma, and its feed is almost entirely chicken manure. It's dried into pellets. I've always had more success with that as a fertilizer. Otherwise, I don't add osmocote or anything like that because it just it causes too much growth, and the growth is weak, and then they get attacked by all sorts of things like spider mites and that. I don't want them, so I prefer to have my cacti grow as hard as possible, so the epidermis is kept clean. And another thing that keeps your epidermis strong and healthy is to give them some lime. So I do have dolomite lime that I add to either inside the pot or add it to the water 3 times a year. It's not a lot, but it's just enough to give it a boost of magnesium and calcium, which keeps them super healthy. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. I hope you found this interesting, seeing some of my cacti in my collection. And I will be back soon to introduce a few more to you. So until then, don't forget, looking after your plants is not a chore. It's part of your self-care. So if you have time, get out there and look after a plant or a cactus like I do, and you'll feel much better for it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. Bye. This is that Mammillaria elongata. You can see here that it's quite dry underneath these older stems. Just a matter of putting this stem back into very mineral soil, no organic matter that will just rot it, and it'll just start growing new roots. And just keep it on the dry side. And this here, you just clean it up with the tweezers. Look at that. You can actually see here some roots. This is a natural process of any old cactus. We do it from time to time. So I have a piece here, see there? This happened to a elongata copper king. It's very old central stem that had gotten old, and I just cleaned it all up. And you wouldn't even know, and you wouldn't even have known that it had an old piece, because it's all growing into itself and looking good again. And that piece there, yeah, this piece here already has roots on it, see? They take their sweet time to grow again from a piece that you break off. I could take this one off, maybe. It looks alright. I think for now I just clean up around there, and then down here I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heads growing. So I think when you do have a natural piece of your cactus that's rotting, we've got the dry rots because it's old, you don't have to unpot it, you just break that bit off and it's all good. I will just keep cleaning up around this bit once I do turn the camera off, so it looks all nice and tidy down there. There's not a lot more I can do actually. It's pretty clean. Yeah. This will just continue growing from the bottom. I thought I would just show you that before I turn off completely. And I will manage with these pieces here. Probably just clean that little bit off the end there. And until next time, we'll see you. Happy growing. Bye.